Thank you all for joining us today as we bring attention to this critical issue that has claimed the lives of far too many children. My name is Jeanette Fennell, and I am the founder and president of a nonprofit organization called Kids in Car Safety. These 1,086 onesies represent the innocent lives that were lost to the preventable problem of children dying in hot cars. That's 1,086. Due to a very tight schedule today, we will hear first from Joan Claybrook, who is the former administrator of the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. She has a flight to catch, and we want to respect that. Joan needs no introduction, but she was the head of NHTSA for many years during the Carter administration, and then went on for 18 years to run the advocacy program at Public Citizen. Joan Claybrook, take over.
Good morning. My name is Joan Claybrook. I'm the former administrator of the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration under Jimmy Carter, and it was a pleasure to run that agency. I'm sad that it has failed to do what it should do for kids left in hot cars. We're here to discuss the failure of Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg and the DOT safety agency, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, for failing to comply with the statutory deadline for issuing hot car standard, as well as other timelines to establish this critical and essential safety regulation. Climate experts and media stories are predicting the summer of 2024 will be a repeat of the summer of 2023, which was the hottest on record for more than 2,000 years in the northern hemisphere. We expect that temperatures will climb so that death and injury of all innocent children, injury toll of innocent children will inadvertently left on the side of cars. These deaths are appalling, and so is the apathy at DOT. They have known about this problem for 20 years. It took safety organizations and parents, some of whom are here today, going to Congress to pass legislation directing regulatory action with a specific deadline of November 2023 for issuing this rule. But guess what? Not yet finished. This is not an easy issue. Despite the one-year notice of the statutory deadline, the agency has missed all other deadlines except for themselves to complete hot car safety. We have affordable and available technology at hand to both detect the presence of a child and to alert the driver. Nearly 5 years ago, the auto industry with great fanfare announced a so-called voluntary standard to provide protection for children left in hot cars. But voluntary industry standards and agreements are inadequate, ineffective, and they are unenforceable. Federal safety standards will guarantee that whatever technology is used by the auto industry will meet minimum safety performance standards that are designed and issued by the federal government. This will assure that every child in every vehicle, every car trip, will be protected by the best technology to prevent death and injury from heat stroke. This is what the government's vehicle standards achieve. We know the federal safety standards will automatically stop deaths and injuries, save lives, and minimize the cost to consumers to prevent heartbreak for families, some of whom are here today and who will hear today. As a former regulator and consumer advocate, I know firsthand the life-saving and cost-saving benefits of federal vehicle safety standards. Requiring safety technologies such as airbags, rollover prevention, rear-view cameras, and most recently automatic emergency brakes saves tens of thousands of lives a year, billions of dollars. Why not do it? Why has it taken so long? It is past time for Secretary Buttigieg, who himself has small children at the age of these children who have died in these hot cars, to issue a safety standard requiring inexpensive technology to detect the presence of a child and alert those outside the vehicle to save them. No more delays, no more excuses, no more senseless and preventable deaths of children. as we feel the heat of this summer, it's time for DOT to feel the heat of the safety standard issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Joan, so much. And now we know you have to rush to the airport, so we won't delay that any further. I have a few opening comments. Since 1990, 1,086 children have died in hot cars. Each onesie here today represents a precious young life lost, leaving families shattered and communities forever changed. 1,086 isn't just a number. These are stories of sons, daughters, brothers, sisters, grandchildren, each with a future life full of promise. First responders, physicians, and nurses carry this trauma and the weight of these devastating tragedies with them for the rest of their lives. Today, you will hear from the infinitely courageous mothers of 4 children. As we prepared for this event, hanging each onesie was a feeling that is absolutely impossible to describe. Each clipped clothespin brought home the heartbreaking reality of what has been lost and was a chilling reminder of the tragic reality of what has been lost. We must work harder, faster, and smarter. We have tried everything to get technology in vehicles that can prevent children from dying in there. We've worked with members of Congress and helped draft legislation. We've conducted countless city, state, national, education, and media outreach campaigns. Parents and many others have written letters to their members of Congress, have written letters to the people in the Department of Transportation. I've personally met with Secretary Buttigieg, trying, pleading for him to get this regulation written. As our decades-long fight for technology drags on, I have to ask these incredible families to tell their heartbreaking stories over and over again, year after year, decade after decade. Each retelling fractures their hearts in another million little pieces, leaving them to endure the unfathomable pain with every recounting. It is a sacrifice of their hearts every single time they have to relive this tragedy. Thousands upon thousands of children have also been involved in non-fatal incidents. We have documented at least 7,500 non-fatal incidents, but the actual number is much higher. These children were saved in the nick of time, but many have suffered lifelong and debilitating brain damage and other injuries. Hundreds of these children will never walk or talk again, and their little bodies, when they overheated, those organ damage, and their lives were forever altered. Imagine, just imagine when you look at all of these onesies, these children's contributions to the world they would have made if they were allowed to grow up. Each onesie represents.
I'll preface this by saying that Brittany Griner was well aware that marijuana is illegal in Russia in all of its forms, and yet in her haste in her packing, she forgot to remove the marijuana capsules from her bag, which resulted in her incarceration in a Russian prison. Police officers have forgotten their loaded weapons in public bathrooms, in which children or criminals can then have access to these weapons. Airline pilots forget to set the wing flaps properly when they take off, and planes have crashed, lives have been lost. And on a personal note, about 15 years ago, I was driving with my wife and my month-old grandchild in the car. When we got to our destination, I got out of the car and I was ready to go. My wife said to me, "Are you forgetting something?" And I had no idea what she was talking about. I had lost awareness. I had forgotten about my grandchild in the car. And had I been alone, that might have ended in a tragedy. We are here today because a memory failure can result in a child suffering from organ damage or death. Loving and attentive parents, grandparents, and caretakers unknowingly and unintentionally lose awareness of a child in their car, which can result in the child dying of heat stroke. The knee-jerk reaction to learning about a child forgotten in a car and dying of heat stroke is often accusing the parent of negligence. However, this tragedy has occurred hundreds, even 1,000 times over the past few decades to loving and attentive parents and grandparents who would never consider doing anything to harm a child. I've been studying this phenomenon for the past 20 years from a neuropsychological perspective. Forgetting a child in a car is a failure of a form of memory called prospective memory. That is, the plan to do something in the future. Prospective memories are very common and they're typically benign, such as forgetting to stop at the store on the way home, or leaving a coffee cup on the roof of a car. These are benign examples of how we forget something to do in the future.
On December 23rd of 2020, my husband, Aaron, and I welcomed our sweet little peanut, Anderson, into this world. Aaron had been by my side in the labor and delivery unit since we had been admitted 2 days prior on the 21st with plans to be induced. Anderson did not come easily. We didn't even get to see him be born because I had to be put to sleep in the operating room during our C-section, and Aaron was escorted out. It was actually my husband, Aaron, who got to have the first skin-to-skin contact with our baby boy as I laid in the recovery room, waking up from the anesthesia. I couldn't wait to be back in our room as a family, being able to hold what my husband and I created together. Anderson was no doubt a mama's boy, but he adored his papa in the most magical and beautiful way I've ever seen two people grow with one another. Their bond was so special, and I couldn't help but be in awe at how effortlessly my husband fell into fatherhood. Being parents had turned out to be both of our greatest accomplishments, and we were constantly doting on our son. All of our dreams were coming true. But on June 28th, I lost my son, Anderson, due to a hot car death after my husband inadvertently forgot to drop him off at childcare before he traveled to work that morning. Shortly after realizing what happened, Aaron took his own life due to the overwhelming feeling of guilt, despair, and heartbreak. In 8 days today, it'll be 2 years since I lost my entire family. In 8 days, all of our family and friends will have relived this horror. And honestly, I relive this gut-wrenching nightmare every single day. June 28th changed me forever, and that's why I'm here today. On June 28th, I begged and pleaded for my life to end as well. And there have been more days than not, thus far, that I don't wish for the same thing. There has been one major resource other than my therapist and my amazing support system that has kept me going for nearly 2 years. Author Gary Rowe shared a statement from another fellow grieving parent in his book called Shattered: Surviving the Loss of a Child. And I go back to this quote every single time that I feel like throwing in the towel. Your child would want you to live, survive. If you don't, that's one less voice to speak their name and tell their story. I question who I am now, feeling like I also died that day. And there's so much about me now that's gone. But one thing that has not dissipated from my soul is my ability to protect my family. And I will always be Aaron's wife, and I will always be Anderson's mama. I am their voice, and I will speak their names until my last breath. I will always be here living in their memory and fighting in their honor, telling their stories, our story. It is in their honor that I have found a new and significant purpose, making sure that no other families suffer the same preventable loss. Technology exists, it's readily available to stop hot car deaths, and I will work for the rest of my life to ensure that this doesn't happen to anyone else. Secretary Pete Buttigieg, I have a message very specifically for you. You have the power to make the hot car final rule move. You are a loving father, just like my husband, my son's father, who would die if anything happened to your babies. You can prevent this unbearable heartache for dozens of families every single year. And if you felt the pain that I live with every day for a split second, you too would feel the urgency of this life-saving regulation. I am begging and I am pleading with you to please move the hot car final rule forward as your #1 priority. Innocent babies like my Anderson cannot protect themselves, and they're depending on you.
That is for her. The next mother we're going to hear from is Marissa Rodriguez, and she's coming to us today from New York City.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Marissa Rodriguez, and I'm the mother of Luna and Phoenix Rodriguez. On July 26, 2019, my entire world came crashing down. The day began like any other. It was hopeful, happy day, especially being a Friday. We were planning to take our 1-year-old twins, Luna and Phoenix, to the beach for the first time that weekend. That morning, I strapped them in their car seats. I sang to them and kissed them, not knowing it was the last time I was going to be able to do so. My husband Juan set out to take them to daycare on his way to work at the VA hospital, where he spends the day counseling disabled veterans. At around 4 p.m. that day, while I was at work, I got a call from Juan asking me to pick up the kids from daycare, as he was leaving his primary job to head to his military base for another job. This was our normal exchange and confirmation of who was picking them up. As he was driving, he put his hand on the back of the passenger seat, and he realized he was touching the top of Luna's car seat. He pulled over, and without looking, he slowly reached down and he touched the top of her head and felt her hair. And it wasn't until that moment that he realized that he never dropped them off. The next call I received was a call of horror. My husband was screaming while trying to come to terms with what had happened. I couldn't believe it was true. Gone was my beautiful Luna, my sweet little girl with dark hair and captivating blue eyes, who loved music and dancing. And gone was my handsome Phoenix, my big boy who loved climbing and going up and down our slides in our backyard. Our hopeful day turned into the worst day of our lives. Everything shattered. My family, our carefree happiness, and our hopes and dreams for their future, their beautiful, bright futures. Juan will never truly forgive himself, and we both struggled with our desire to stay here on Earth. The details and images in our heads of that day and the following days will never leave our minds. Having to confirm it was our babies in the morgue, having to see their little bodies in their tiny coffins, and having to go back home to their empty bedrooms and high chairs. I don't wish that on anyone ever. Today, everything in our lives is divided before and after the Twinkies passed away. I never knew something like this could happen to loving, cautious parents. I love them and I miss them so much, and I feel I have to do something to stop this from happening to other families over and over. When I learned technology existed that could have alerted us that our babies were left in the car, my heart broke further. Our hearts shatter every time we learn that another child has died in the same manner. And again, every time this vital safety rule gets delayed. You see, families have been coming here to DC for more than a decade, pleading for action. There are no excuses for these delays. Today, I am calling on NHTSA to move this final rule forward for Luna, for Phoenix, for all of the children who have lost their lives, and for the beautiful, healthy, happy children alive today. I beg of you to pass this act so that no more babies have to die this way. Thank you.
Thank you, Marissa. The next mother we're going to hear from is Taylor, and she's joining us here from Boston.
Hello. My 13-month-old daughter, Fiona, died on July 1st, 2022. She was the happiest, most loving baby, always greeting everyone with her beautiful smile and wave. She loved to dance, and snuggle, and play peekaboo with her brother. She loved splashing in the tub and exploring the world around her. Many times you hear tragic stories, and they begin with "it started like any other day." But that is the thing. The morning my daughter died was not a typical morning for us. Many parts of our usual routine were off. My husband had been working double shifts for 2 days straight at the plant he helped manage. That day he got home at 3 a.m. just to wake up again at 6:30 a.m. and start the day again. Fiona had been up multiple times in the night and was also tired and not feeling quite herself. A few days prior, we had changed her from her infant bucket seat to a convertible stationary car seat. That morning, I took our son to school, and my husband was supposed to take Fiona to daycare. I can still see her looking at me as they walked out the door. Hours later, my world ended. Whether it was lack of sleep, work stress, a change in our routine, or most likely a combination of all of them, he didn't even remember putting Fiona in the car. My husband is the most loving, devoted father. He and Fiona had such a special bond. I remember watching him take her out to the yard so she could feel the grass on her feet, and holding her all night in the steamy bathroom when she got croup, and walking her around the house holding her hands as she started taking her first steps. We never got to see her take those steps on her own. There's so much we never got to see. I relived July 1st over and over again, analyzing all the what ifs that could have made a difference. So many small changes I wish I could go back and make that would completely change the outcome of that awful day. But time doesn't work that way, and I will have to live with my what ifs forever. I could never go back and not change her car seat, or buy the baby car seat mirror I had seen at the store the day before. I can't tell my husband to go back to bed, or just take both kids to school and daycare myself. Those things I cannot change. But I can fight for the technology that would have saved Fiona's life. I can fight for these simple changes that can save other children's lives, to save other families from living with the agony and unending pain of losing a child, of living with the what ifs and the desperation of wanting to change what can never be changed. It is a type of debilitating longing that words cannot even describe. I stand here today to implore the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the U.S. Department of Transportation to implement the overdue hot car final rule. For years, families like mine have been contacting NHTSA and DOT officials to ask for their leadership to move forward the final rule. Receiving no response has been a painful slap in the face. Learning that occupant detection systems can be added to vehicles for less than $20 was debilitating. I wish to ask DOT Secretary Pete Buttigieg, are your children worth it? NHTSA Administrator Sophie Schulman, is your child worth it? There is no reason any other child should lose their life when the technology to save them already exists. Thank you.
Thank you, Taylor. And this is the first time she's ever spoken out, so you can imagine how difficult this is for everyone. We have one more mother to hear from today, and that is Jamie Dill. She comes here from Evansville, and she has a very strong story to tell. July 9th, 2019, my life changed forever. That morning, my husband was supposed to take our son Oliver to daycare. With a change in his regular routine, along with work, our upcoming vacation, and home responsibilities on his mind, he drove straight to his office without stopping at daycare. That afternoon, Ollie became one of 1,086 children who have perished inside a hot car since 1990. My husband, who is a loving, responsible, doting father, had no idea he could lose awareness of our beloved son in the backseat of our vehicle. There's not a day that goes by that my husband and I don't think of what we could have done, what we should have done differently that day. The regret, heartbreak, and most certainly the guilt we will feel for the rest of our lives is incomprehensible. Children do not have to die in this terrible way. The overdue hot car final rule must be implemented immediately to save children and prevent families from this unfathomable pain. The delay is unexcusable because we know that children will pay with their lives. Families will be destroyed. It is up to us to protect children. As Fred Rogers said, we live in a world in which we need to share responsibility. It's easy to say it's not my child, not my community, not my world, not my problem. Then there are those who see the need and respond. I consider those people my heroes. I'm standing here today to ask the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the U.S. Department of Transportation to please be the heroes our children need and deserve. Now is the time to implement the hot car final rule. How can we ever thank these mothers enough for their bravery? And they have taken this personal tragedy and turned it into a powerful message of hope, and they're truly inspiring. Thank you for your vulnerability and for helping to make a difference. Your voice is invaluable, and we are deeply honored by your presence and your participation here today. With heartfelt thanks and sympathy, we bless them mightily. Now what we'd like to do is transition. We do have a vehicle that has been brought to this site from Kia, and they're going to be able to demonstrate the technology that's currently available that we need inside all of vehicles. So James, we're ready for you to do your demonstration.
I didn't realize. Okay. That's
Okay.
Cool. Sure. I don't have any prepared words. It's a
No,
physical
I know. We want to go to
demonstration
your vehicle and
on the cars.
if you
Okay.
can show us. Yeah.
Amber, I'm moving your laptop.
Yep.
So what's going to happen is we're going to get in the car, we're going to start the car, it's got to cycle through. I'm going to leave a passenger in the car, and I'm going to walk away from it and lock the doors. And about 30 seconds later, the system will then activate and the horn will go off. Okay? The Carnival over there is equipped with the same system, however, I don't have it hooked up to the app. So the idea is to show you, even if you were an owner and you didn't have the app on your phone, the car still alerts you. If you have the app and you walk away, you actually get an alert on your phone that says, hey, we've detected movement in your car. You should probably go back there and take a look. Okay? So I'm happy to show it to you. It's again, we'll walk through it. It takes a couple minutes to do it, though. All right, who wants to be my rear seat passenger?
Where's he? Can we do it? Can we do it?
Huh? No, I'm going to have this gentleman
Oh,
do it.
guinea
And,
pig.
yes, in a minute you can. Put it on.
I can explain it to you what he's doing. It's like you put a kid in a car, and you strap it in, and you go around, you get in the car, put your seatbelt on, start the car, just like he did. Okay. Now what he's going to do, he'll shut the car off, like you want somewhere uncomfortable, and then he'll get out of the car, he'll lock it, and then he'll walk away. And like around 20 to 30 seconds, the horn will start beeping. That lets you know, hey, but the dashboard lights up and says, check your seat, no signs. But if you're in a hurry, you can look at that, jump out of the car, and you take off. You know what? See now he's stopping the car.
So now what happens is, because this car is connected to the app, I've also received, a notification on my phone that movement has been detected in the car and that you should return to it immediately. Oops, again, yeah, I know. It goes off quickly. It's a work phone and IT doesn't want it on very much. Get it? Or do you want me to walk in the shade?
Yeah.
Yeah, go to
Sure.
the other.